The Zone is the home of boxing, with over 150 live fights a year.
It's over! There's no way back from this, surely!
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
How do you like it? How do you like it?
That is unbelievable.
These guys will be legends in their own country, but also in the international basketball world forever.
That is what sport means. That is what the EuroLeague trophy means.
Are you not entertained?
I'm not supposed to be cheering, but this is X Series. I can do whatever I want.
Everything is difficult in this life, so still you need to be on it.
It all comes down to tonight. Don't miss the biggest night in MMA. PFL is more than a fight.
Catching up on any NFL game is easier than ever before.
Looking to the end zone for the win! Oh my gosh, one of the great games you'll ever see.
The competition is back, and the UEFA Women's Champions League looks set to be bigger and better than ever before.
It's their time. A night to remember.
The following program is recommended for those 16 and over, as it contains sporting violence, possible bad language, and flashing imagery.
And welcome to a brand new edition of ARIEL X ADE right here on the global home of boxing. Yes, DAZN. That spells DAZN. So many big fights, so much news from the world of the sweet science since we last spoke has broken. I mean, it has been an insane 7 days. And in particular, between like Thursday and Friday, an insane 24 hours. We're going to get into all of that and a whole lot more. Big weekend coming up right here on DAZN, and a massive one coming up in less than 2 weeks' time in Riyadh. So let us not waste any time. Of course, I'm ARIEL Helwani right here in our New York City studio. Across the pond is one Ade Oladipo, who they say is now the face of DAZN boxing. That's what they say. That's what I saw.
That's what the streets are saying. This isn't me putting. That's what they said. The face, the voice, everything.
The face and the voice.
Face and the voice. I mean, you heard it. You saw the clip. I didn't tell her to say that. I didn't prompt her. She just said it.
Shout out to Red October. Is that who we're talking
October
about?
Red.
October Red. Gosh.
October Red.
Incredible
Red
hair.
The film.
Incredible hair on October Red. I mean, what is it?
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
She's
How do
very
you pull that
stylish.
off? Yeah.
I have no idea. Clearly, that's something that me and you will never have the pleasure of doing. You know what I mean? But no, she's very good at what she does as well. Good YouTube channel. Quick plug. Go and check out YouTube channel October Red.
Yes, and by the way, did you watch the Super Bowl on DAZN this past weekend? I was locked in. Tremendous stuff right here on DAZN, the global home of the NFL. Did you enjoy that? That was some proper football, was it not?
I wouldn't go as far as saying proper football. Obviously, clearly isn't football. I mean, it's American football, and it wasn't as entertaining as I thought it was going to be. I enjoyed the halftime show. Obviously, I'm a big Kendrick
of course.
fan.
Oh, yeah. It
But
was
you know,
so
I'm a
smart.
big Kendrick fan.
It was so.
Yeah,
it was
so I
so.
enjoyed
It was so
Yeah.
edgy. It was so intellectual. It was so.
It was though. What are you hating? It was.
Nah.
It was. It was almost one of those things you need to watch 10 times to kind of take a bit of everything. I liked it, but I don't think it works as a halftime show. I think people just want songs they can sing along to. But I love Kendrick. So anything Kendrick does, I'm a fan of. So
Of course,
I enjoyed it.
No, a solid C plus. You know, like we strive for greatness when it comes to our halftime shows. But you would like a solid C plus.
It's weird how much Americans and I guess people that love the NFL take so much sort of pleasure or anger in that halftime show. Obviously, it's something that we have no idea about over here. Like it would never ever work over here. But Americans, oh my God! I mean, I even remember when Kendrick was announced, they went crazy that it wasn't Lil Wayne. I was like, wow.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
Okay,
we like our pomp. We like our circumstance. Ade, we have a lot to get into, so no time to dilly-dally. A lot of news, a lot of things to discuss as far as boxing is concerned, but we'd be remiss if we don't kick off today's show and by mentioning that with a very, very heavy heart, we do today's show because we found out just a couple of days ago that a young Irish fighter named John Cooney, who was 11-1, who had a remarkable career ahead of him, who had already amassed a very solid resume, unfortunately passed away due to the injuries that he suffered in a fight on February 1st in Belfast in Northern Ireland. Another tragedy, and these happen, and by all accounts, multiple outlets saying this is the sixth boxing injury-related death to hit the sport in the past year, in the past 365 days. This is a young man with his entire life ahead of him. Just an absolute tragedy, and we want to send our condolences and our thoughts to the family of John Cooney.
Yeah, look, 6 is too many. 1 is too many. Look, we all know the dangers of the sport that we love and watch. But when something like this happens, it does bring home just how dangerous the sport is. I mean, I was lucky enough to watch one of John Cooney's fights live. He fought on the undercard of Chantel Cameron versus Katie Taylor 2 when Katie Taylor got the belts back. And that's where he won that Celtic title, first round stoppage. And you saw there that he was a special fighter. So for this to happen to someone so talented, someone so young, someone that has a family as well, it's tragic. And hopefully, and as always, this does happen, the boxing community rallies round, whether it is a GoFundMe page to support his family, whether it is promoters and fighters dipping in their pockets, us doing exactly the same thing. Hopefully, we can all rally around his family who are going to need everyone's help right now. But yeah, very, very sad news.
Yeah, so again, we do the show with a heavy heart. Awful, awful news. And as you said, a reminder that you don't play boxing, as many have said over and over again, and why the sport needs to be taken so seriously. So again, our condolences to the family of John the Kid Cooney, and may he rest in peace. No easy way to transition, but let us do our best and let us talk about one of the faces of the sweet science, and that is Saul Canelo Alvarez. He has been all over the news over the past week, and he has been one of the best fighters of the past decade, but also one of the best businessmen of the past decade when it comes to boxing, and that was on full display, especially towards the back end of the week. And so let us quickly bring everyone up to speed. In case you've been living under a rock, I'm assuming if you're tuning into this show, you're well aware of what has transpired. But in very short order, there was a lot of talks, and we've been talking about it for the last couple of weeks, that Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez had a deal in place to fight on September 13th in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium. And a lot of this was coming from Turki Al-Sheikh, from Riyadh Season, from The Ring, which is owned by Turki Al-Sheikh. And last time we did this show, about a week ago, it seemed like fait accompli. It seemed like it was going to happen. And perhaps the only question left was, would Canelo fight in May? Would he fight someone before the September fight? However, things started to turn come Wednesday evening when we found out that all of a sudden the fight was off. And then we started to find out that, hold the phone, there's a fight on the table between Canelo and Jake Paul, of all people, for that May date. And then we started to hear people talking about it, the likes of Eddie Hearn, Turkey, The Ring is talking about it, ESPN is reporting on it, everyone's talking about this May thing, and it seemed like we were inching closer and closer to that fight. And while that was happening, all of a sudden we hear that, all right, it's going to be perhaps Crawford versus Boots Ennis in September. Yeah. That's going to be the big fight. And then all of a sudden, Thursday night, we find out, oh, wait, hold the phone. It's actually not going to be Canelo versus Jake Paul. It's going to be Canelo fighting in May in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, actually on a Sunday morning to cater to a Saturday night here in North America, and that he has given the stiff arm to Jake Paul, and that he has now agreed to a 4-fight deal, which includes that May fight in Saudi Arabia, and then the September fight against Terence Crawford, and then 2 more in 2025. And some 24 hours after that, we found out that it was in fact going to be William Skull winning the lottery to end all lotteries. He's going to be the one to defend his IBF title against Canelo Alvarez in May, in the first weekend of May in Riyadh, to then probably, hopefully, if we're being honest, set up the undisputed title fight against Terence Crawford come September 13th. In the midst of all of this, Jake Paul very upset, putting out videos, taking aim at Turki Al-Sheikh, taking aim at Canelo, showing pictures, hitting them low, all kinds of madness. And so this is the first time that we get to talk about all of this since it all transpired. Your reaction now, just a couple of days later, to how this all shaked out?
I don't think there's been a bigger 96 hours in the sport of boxing, at least since I've been watching it and covering the sport. Like the changes and the ups and downs and lefts and rights there have been crazy. But I think, and this is my honest take on it, I think the biggest takeaway from everything that's happened is that Canelo was going to fight Jake Paul. That was going to happen. Let me use an NFL pun. We're on the 1 yard line. Is that hopefully that makes sense to you? It makes sense to me. Yeah, thank you. That was going to happen, and that still is in my mind. Yes, I know Canelo has now said no to this, and him and Jake Paul have kind of gone back and forth, and Turkey signed a 4-fight deal with Canelo. Well done, congratulations. But Jake Paul versus Canelo was a real thing, and I just have to kind of eat a bit of humble pie here by saying this, because I thought that would never happen. I thought we were a million miles. I thought we were at least 3 or 4 years from seeing that fight happen. I never thought the fight would never happen, but I thought the fight would happen when Canelo maybe hangs up the gloves, stops fighting for real, quote unquote, and then we'll see it. So that's almost one of my biggest takeaways. The second biggest takeaway is that's a 4-fight deal. And the money that Turkey must have put up for Canelo to say no to Jake Paul, which we know would be astronomical money on Netflix, for Canelo to do a U-turn right at the 11th hour and go and sign a 4-fight deal must be through the roof. I'm excited for it because I think Canelo's still got so much to offer to the sport of boxing. And not that it would have been a gimmick fight with Jake Paul, but I'm not for those while you're still a real fighter. When the career is all said and done, fine, go and do whatever you want to do. But for me, there's some serious work still to be done for Canelo. So in the end, I think it's prevailed and it's happened the right way. But still, my biggest takeaway is Canelo was that close to fighting Jake Paul. I still find that crazy.
It is a crazy thing when you consider the fact we looked through as much footage as possible, and we found, dating back to 2021, the summer of 2021, when Jake was about to fight Tyron Woodley, coming off of the Ben Askren first-round knockout, he said on the stage leading up to that fight, I'm going to fight Canelo in a couple of years. And then, and congruently, Canelo kept getting asked about Jake, and his answers were always like, come on, guys. Seriously, like, ask me a real question. Kept laughing it off. And now here's Jake after this Mike Tyson fight on Netflix, going after Canelo, and it appears as though Canelo signed this letter of intent, which essentially means that we are going to go in business together to find a suitable platform to air this mega fight. Now, Jake and his team wanted the fight to be on Netflix. Canelo and his team reportedly wanted the fight to be on pay-per-view. They felt like it was big enough for pay-per-view, and that's a difference of opinion, and that's a major thing, because if it's on pay-per-view, it ain't on Netflix, and so there's different money involved there, right? But ultimately, he chooses not to go with Jake altogether and says, don't believe this YouTuber. But the truth is, he was negotiating with Jake. The question that I'm still not sure the answer to, and I'd love to get your take on this, is, do you think Canelo was truly, was he truly interested in fighting Jake Paul, or was he using Jake Paul? Was he using Jake Paul to get one more fight out of Turki Al-Sheikh?
I don't believe that. I've seen a few boxing writers, YouTube members, whatever, media members say that he was playing Jake Paul. I don't believe it. I think Canelo's in this for the money, and I think he's all about the money. The risk reward for fighting Jake Paul, I said this a couple of weeks ago, is very, very low. The risk is low. The reward is enormous. Why would you not want to fight Jake Paul for 100 million? Let's just throw that number out there. And no disrespect to Jake Paul, and I honestly mean this. It's easy work for Canelo. It's not a tough fight. I mean, he doesn't even have to go through a full camp. He could weigh in at 190 pounds, fight Jake Paul at 200 pounds, and make 100 million for nothing. So I genuinely believe he was interested in fighting Jake Paul. I don't believe this thing about he was just trying to sort of, play the game, so to speak, and get another deal or a bit more money out of Turkey. I honestly don't believe that. I'm with that he was going to fight Jake Paul. He was going to make a load of money, and he didn't care what sort of hardcore boxing fans said. He would have said, look, guys, I've been doing this for 20 years. Look at my back catalogue. I fight everyone, but we're on the back 9 now, and I just want to make as much money as possible because I've done what I needed to do in the sport of boxing. He's only made a U-turn
because the offer from His Excellency was so good, you couldn't turn it down. It was 4 fights. It's big money. It's guaranteed money. Whereas Jake Paul would have been 1, and then where does he go from there? So I think it was a real thing.
Well, it's a fascinating thing because I think Canelo comes out smelling like roses because they put it out, and I think it was leaked by the Riyadh season side to put it out to try to, I don't know, ruin the surprise, ruin the announcement. Because, I mean, even after the fact, Turkey was telling ESPN that he was putting out false information to try to, to try to distract people. But ultimately, they saw the reaction, and the reaction wasn't positive, right? They didn't want this. Yeah. His fan base did not want this. And so he could have gone the route of, hey, I'm going to shut this kid up once and for all. He's making a mockery of the sport. He beat up a legend. I'm going to kill him. And as we said, like, I asked you the question, I think it was last week. I asked you the question, like, what if? I'm asking you this question. Obviously, Canelo Alvarez was going to do whatever he wanted with Jake Paul. It was up to him whether this fight goes 3 rounds or 7 rounds or 2 rounds or 1 round or 10 rounds. It was up to him. There are levels to this. The gap between them is astronomical. But I don't believe for a second that he wasn't sincere in his intent to sign to fight Jake Paul because of the money. He's always said it. What? Payday, payday, payday. He has always said, 100%. Just pay me the most money and I will come fight for you. Even Eddie Hearn himself, who Eddie adores Canelo. He's his biggest fan. He has said he has no loyalty to anyone. His loyalty is to whoever is going to pay him the most amount of money. And so this idea in the aftermath that people are like, thank you, Canelo. I see these boxing, media guys, thank you, Canelo, for keeping your integrity and for saying no to Jake Paul and MVP.
Nonsense.
And for going,
absolute nonsense.
He just got paid more to go fight William Skull in May in Riyadh. And that's why he's doing it. And instead, and by the way, it's a brilliant business move on his part. He went from a 3-fight deal to a 4-fight deal. God bless. And he's going to beat William Skull. And now the Crawford fight is going to be for undisputed gold. Tremendous business on his part, but don't tell me that he had no intention of fighting Jake. That's not true.
Yeah. Yeah, Canelo at this stage of his career is not just a very good boxer. As you say, he's a very good businessman. Like, I remember watching Canelo's interview with Sway, and he spoke about sort of his business acumen when it comes to boxing. Like, he makes this amount of money from every fight, and he takes 80% of every sort of profit or revenue share. He's about his money. He's about his money. He would have got the call from MVP, Nikisa, Jake Paul, whoever, and they would have said, okay, potentially this is the check for fighting me. And he would have said, what? Give me that check right now. He's about the money. And he maybe would have continued and had the Crawford fight, but he was really going to fight Jake Paul. I don't believe for a second that Canelo didn't entertain that. I don't believe for a second. All of a sudden, as we've said, Turkey's come, 4-fight deal, William Skull, Crawford, big bag, and then basically you have your pick of what you want to do after. So, again, that's my biggest takeaway from everything. The 96 hours were crazy, so many turns, so many twists, but my biggest takeaway was Canelo Alvarez, the pound-for-pound great, one of the all-time greats of the sport, the best 168-pounder in the last decade, was going to fight Jake Paul. And I find that wild and crazy. It was going to happen.
Okay, now here's the other thing that I also find very interesting as well. And you tell me your thoughts on this. Canelo Alvarez fights Jake Paul on a massive platform, whether it's pay-per-view or Netflix, and he beats the brakes off of him, right? And he says, I did it for boxing, and now I'm going to fight the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Doesn't that make the Crawford fight way bigger than him fighting in Riyadh in May? You know what I mean? Like, they didn't want him to do a deal with Jake Paul because there's a personal rivalry there. They don't like Jake Paul. Turkey, to his credit, says he doesn't like that kind of boxing. And I do believe TKO, Dana White, their influence has been involved in all of this as well. And they don't like Jake Paul and his team. And that's business. You got to deal with that. You have people that are on your side and who aren't. But if you're trying to build to the Crawford fight and make that as big as possible, can we all just at least acknowledge that way more people would be talking about Canelo Alvarez, people who are my kids' age, right? They will know who he is. They will learn about him. And that will only make the Crawford fight bigger. MVP's side, they were saying, we don't care if you fight Crawford. And we think that will only make the Crawford fight bigger. The Riyadh side didn't want him to fight Jake because they thought that maybe him fighting Jake would kind of like would sour the Crawford fight. I'm not sure I agree with that. I think it only would have made the Crawford fight bigger.
I think it makes it bigger in terms of eyes on Canelo. Although Canelo has so many eyeballs on him, he's the biggest star in boxing. I don't know. I almost feel like you fight Jake Paul, I almost want a crescendo, if you like, to Crawford. I almost feel like you fight Jake Paul. It's so big. Unfortunately, and I know a lot of fight fans are not going to like this, the Crawford fight is smaller. It's smaller in terms of eyeballs. It is. Crawford Canelo is smaller than Jake Paul Canelo. So I almost like the idea of building up to Crawford. You beat Skull, and yes, it's not a big fight, I agree. You beat Skull, you become undisputed, and now all of a sudden, there's a chance of history being made with Crawford attempting to become the first free weight undisputed champion. So I don't mind the undisputed fight, which is a formality, no disrespect to William Skull, and then you go to Crawford, and it's undisputed, and then Crawford has a chance to become undisputed. I like that story as opposed to, yes, more eyeballs with Jake Paul, but as opposed to him fighting Jake Paul, then Crawford. I almost feel like Jake Paul it overshadows Crawford a bit. And that's what I don't like. Whereas with the William Skull, we're all waiting now and itching for it to be Crawford, if that makes sense.
No, it does make sense. And I get that. I just think the spotlight would be so great on him. He's in the ring afterwards and he says, I'm coming for a Crawford next. Let me offer
you know what the issue is? You know what the issue is? Jake Paul will then go and will say, my fight's bigger. You know what Jake Paul's like. And remember, we're building this as boxing fans, big boxing fans, as Crawford Canelo is the biggest thing of 2025. Mm-hmm. Jake Paul, as he's been doing with the Mike Tyson thing, will always say, no, it ain't. Yeah, you beat me, but with all due respect, we had the biggest fight of 2025. You versus Crawford Canelo is the second or the third biggest. I had the biggest fight. And I think boxing fans don't want that. They want to say Crawford Canelo is the biggest thing. All of a sudden, it will be Jake Paul Canelo being the biggest thing. So I don't mind all the spotlight being on September.
No, I get it. I get what
he
you're
will
saying.
troll for ages. Yeah.
Let me offer this. Crawford Canelo is gigantic, right? It as of right now, unless something else comes out of nowhere, it's the biggest fight of 2025. You're 100% right. If it's so big, why risk having a fight in May? And I know William Scullin isn't on his level, but, he's a fighter and things can happen in fights. You can break your hand. You can roll your ankle. You could twist a knee. Things have happened in the build-up to a fight and in the fight itself. You could break an orbital. You could get cut. God knows what. If it's that big, fair play to Crawford. He's like, I'm sitting out. I'm just going to get ready. And I got to get bigger and bulk up, and I understand that. But does it not give you any type... I'm an anxious guy. I get nervous about these things. Let's compare it to the UFC. If the UFC was going to announce John Jones versus Tom Aspinall in August, John ain't fighting someone else in March. You gear up to the big one. Is it not playing with fire just a little bit to fight someone before the mega fight? If they announce today that it's Crawford in September for Canelo, everyone goes gaga. Why do we need the one in May?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, we've seen this before with Riyadh season as well. I remember Deontay Wilder, Joseph Parker. It was all set for Deontay Wilder to fight AJ. All of a sudden, Joseph Parker put an X in that straight away. So I don't like the idea of rolling the dice. But this is Canelo for the last decade has given us 2 fights a year. That's what he likes to do. That's obviously how he stays in shape. That's how he stays sharp and how he stays ready. Although Crawford has said, I'm sitting it out until September, Crawford only fights once a year. So this is normal for Crawford. That's all he's been doing since 2019, I believe. It's just 1 fight a year. So for Crawford, it might actually be strange to fight twice a year. Whereas for Canelo, that's just what he does. It's what he does, and I think that's what he needs to get ready for Crawford. He wouldn't want to sit on the fence for 12 months and then go into a Crawford fight where Crawford's kind of used to doing it.
Well, we did find out that card that is going to air on May 3rd here in the United States, I guess technically May 4th, depending on when it airs in the UK, definitely in the morning in Saudi Arabia to cater to a Saturday night here in North America. Just got a lot more interesting. We're getting Jaime Munguia versus Bruno Saras 2, which of course was everyone's upset of the year. That happened in December. And Munguia is now training with Canelo and Eddie Reynoso. So that's a fun little storyline there. I like that. They're beefing it up. It's going to be a fun scene out there. Now, I would have suggested...
I'm fascinated. Sorry, dude. I'm fascinated to see if the Mexicans would travel.
Well,
like obviously when I did Latino card, they didn't really travel. And, I thought maybe, Ramirez or Barbosa or anyone could kind of get the fans. We've been saying for a decade, Canelo is the biggest star in boxing. To move Canelo from Vegas to Riyadh, I honestly, I just want to see whether or not, I know it's Cinco de Mayo, I want to see whether or not they travel to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, because Fury's people do, AJ's people do. I know the West Coast to Saudi is a bit different, but I'd love to see if they do travel in their numbers.
Well, the thought that I had was, they are taking the ring and Riyadh season cards all over the place, right? Imagine if they would have done it in Mexico City, in Guadalajara, in Monterrey, somewhere like that. Said, we're giving you your guy back, and this is going to lead. What a scene that would have been. And I know he fought there a couple of years ago under the Matchroom umbrella, but like that to me would have been a tremendous move and a win-win-win for everyone. If they would have said, we beat Jake Paul and we're bringing Canelo home and it's going to be for undisputed and that's going to build to the Crawford fight in Vegas. That's the one that I thought, that would have been a brilliant move on their part.
It would have been, but if you are Turkey and you've paid what he's paid for Canelo, you're in Saudi Arabia for this one.
Yeah,
we'll give you Crawford in Vegas, Allegiant Stadium. We might even give you another Vegas fight for Bivol or Hamza Shiraz or Eubank, I think are being reported. But for the first one, it's such a big thing for Turkey, for Riyadh, for Saudi Arabia to get Canelo to fight in Saudi. Again, we're talking to one of the biggest. Now, this isn't, no disrespect to Fury or AJ, this is Saul Canelo Alvarez we're talking about. So for him to fight in Saudi, I think it's the biggest tick for the movement, what they're trying to do in terms of tourism, in terms of eyeballs on Saudi Arabia. I think Canelo fighting over there is just enormous.
First time in his career that he fights outside of North America. I mean, so that's
wow,
huge
that's crazy.
Yes, a massive coup.
It's massive
for them to have him fighting over there in Saudi Arabia. And by the way, a year ago, like Turkey and Canelo were at odds. They were going back and forth. Now here they are teaming up to thwart that dastardly Jake Paul. By the way, 4-fight deal. Can I lay it out and you tell me if it happens? All right, you call fact or fiction. William Skull in May, Crawford in September. We hope that those two come to fruition, right? And then in 2025, it's a no-brainer. It's Benavidez and Bivol too. That's it. Is that what we're getting? Do you think what percentage of those 4 do you think happen? 50%? 75%? What are we thinking? 100%?
Well, obviously, Skull 100, Crawford 100.
So 2 out of 4. What about 3 and 4?
I have no idea how that plays out. He's not fighting Benavidez. No, it's not happening.
Never.
I think never. No, I don't think ever. I think Bivol, yes, because Bivol's a smaller 175 pounder. Benavidez he's big. I hate using it as an excuse, but he is very, very big. And Canelo isn't. So now that Benavidez has gone to 175, Canelo's almost got that built-in excuse, you've gone to 175. Whereas I think Bivol being a smaller 175, a bit of a get back as well. It wasn't a bruising fight for Canelo. He'll think that he can get one over Bivol. So I think Bivol's a 50% chance. And then I do believe there's going to be a bit of a play out here between Hamza Shiraz and Chris Eubank Jr. I think the plan is if Hamza beats Carlos Adames and Chris Eubank beats Conor Benn, Hamza and Chris fight, the winner fights Canelo. So there's a lot going on, I think.
Okay, so hard to forecast. I don't know.
What, you think he fights Benavidez? Is that what you're thinking?
I think there's a better chance of the Bivol rematch because he wants the Bivol rematch, right?
Yeah.
I'd rather see him at 168 against Benavidez than him at 175 against Bivol, if you get me. I'd rather see that. I'd rather see that because...
the thing is, though, if Bivol beats Beterbiev, I don't think there'll be a trilogy. I think Bivol will sit it out and fight Canelo.
Yeah.
I think he'll wait and fight Canelo.
It would be silly not to. It would be gigantic. It would be way bigger than the first fight. Remember the first fight, a lot of people were like, why are you fighting this guy? And a lot of people said it was a mistake. His star has grown so much, and especially if he beats Beterbiev. Imagine if he beats Beterbiev and then Benavidez, and then there he is, and Canelo fights him probably for the fourth fight.
Does it all end if he loses to Crawford? So all this 4-fight deal is fantastic, but if Crawford beats him, I mean, are we interested in Bivol? Are we interested in Benavidez?
I'm still interested.
What happens?
I'm still interested, but it would be a massive blow. He'd be losing to a 47-pounder. He'd be losing to a 54-pounder, whichever way you want to slice it, to a 40-pounder.
Yeah.
I think there will still be a lot of value. His stock didn't drop all that much after the Bivol loss, and I know you could say he was.
Yeah, but it didn't because he moved up.
Right.
Crawford's moving up. You do the maths. Crawford's moving up 14 pounds.
Yeah.
You're going to get a lot of stick losing to a guy moving up 14 pounds, regardless of how good he is. So to then sell yourself and get paid the money he's getting paid as the king of boxing, I don't know. I don't know what happens if he loses to Crawford. I feel like this 4-fight deal is almost like with asterisks.
100%.
Okay, but if you beat him, if you beat him, if you beat him.
the best laid plans in boxing never go the way they are planned. Remember, there was once a time I think he signed a 10-fight deal with DAZN, and I think that lasted like 3 fights or something like that, or 4 fights. So yeah, I think the 2 are pretty secure, May 3rd and then September 13th, but the rest, to your point, all very much up in the air. By the way, do you have a strong take? Where does Jake go from here? What does he do?
KSI.
Man.
It's got like, if I'm KSI, honestly, like I don't understand what's going on. Like Mams and Nikita just need to get together.
Yeah.
Like it's the biggest fight that can be made, honestly. Like forget this Dylan Dennis thing. I mean, I'm being serious about this. I know
pull
we're
the
close
plug
to doing it. If you can get Jake Paul, pull the plug.
Yeah.
If you can get Jake Paul, you pull the plug on Dylan Dennis, you pay him a little go away money, and you make this fight. Because I heard KSI talking about the fact that he tried Jorge Masvidal, although Jorge's tweeted and said, let's chill out a little bit. Tried Nate Diaz. He's tried everyone. Tony Ferguson. I think he's going to have the same issue. Jake Paul's going to have the same issue. Just fight. Why don't these two just get it on? I don't understand.
This is almost becoming it.
This is a Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao situation. What is the problem here?
Well, the crazy thing is that in quote unquote real boxing, all the big fights are being made, except for Fury AJ. Every single big fight is being made, and then on the fun side of the street, where apparently anything should go, the one that we want, the only one that we want, is not being made for reasons I still don't understand.
This could be bigger than Crawford Canelo.
Oh, BJ, we were talking about this earlier today. That's Wembley Stadium, right? That's Tottenham Hotspur worthy?
No, Wembley. No. Tottenham's not big enough.
Yeah.
Wembley.
But would Jake go over there?
65,000.
Would Jake go over there?
Then, that's the issue, isn't it? Because KSI, I think you said this to me, isn't as well known in the US as Jake is in the UK.
Correct.
If I've read that correct. So yeah, Jake would have to come over here. Look, if it makes money, it makes sense. And there's a lot of money in that fight. So yeah, if I'm Mams, get on the phone to Nikita and just hash this out. This is getting stupid.
Yeah, well, let's see. There's a lot of emotion and ego involved. I'm not confident it happens anytime soon, but I would certainly love to see it. All right, let's turn our attention to this coming weekend, Ade. We've got a big one back in Manchester, the fight capital of the UK. Back at the Co-op Live Arena, it's Jack Catterall against Arnold Barbosa Jr. It's Matchroom versus Golden Boy. Love this fight. It's for the interim WBO super lightweight title, and there's a little bit of bad blood. They've done this face-to-face thing with Eddie Hearn last week, and actually earlier today on the pitch over at the world-famous Etihad Stadium. Prior to Man City versus Real Madrid, they were both there with the great Roberto Duran. Did you see this scene? A little boxing
I did.
Football.
I was kind of like, as soon as you said world-famous Etihad, I kind of tuned out.
No, I know. I'm sorry. I did that for you.
I know you did. I know you did that. But by the way, Roberto Duran, him being over here is wild. It's incredible. And I hope that those Man City fans understood who was on their pitch. I mean, talking about one of the greatest boxers in the history of the sport.
I love that.
But it's good that he's over here supporting these guys. He was obviously at the Chisora fight as well. And this one's going to be as good. I think the atmosphere in the Co-op Live is going to be incredible. It really is. I mean, Jack Catterall's now got a bit of a following. There's some good undercard fights as well. And Jack Catterall's a world-level fighter. Like, he is one of the best super lightweights in the world, hands down. Top 3, top 4. And Arnold Barbosa is very, very good as well. Unbeaten. Coming off a good win against Ramirez. So this is a fight to determine, really, who fights Teofimo Lopez. It probably won't happen.
Right.
I can see Teofimo vacating and one of these fighters being sort of given the belt, but this is an important fight for both of their careers.
And by the way, shout out to Matchroom once again, our good friend Alex Haynes. Another great promo, another fun, unique, original promo leading up to this one. They've done a great job once again in trying to get us emotionally invested in Jack, and credit to Jack and his team for leaning all the way in. In case you missed it, here's said promo.
Now, I've colour-coded each session based on the intensity level. Yellow for the warm-up, green, high intensity, red, that's my recovery. Mondays, yoga. All the poses are listed in alphabetical order. Over here, I log how many punches thrown in the last hour. 1,327. Not a round number. Bugs me a little bit, that, but I'm working on it. Do you want to see the chart? Not this again. My name's Jack Catterall, and for some reason, people think I'm boring. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm a fun guy. I've got loads of fun hobbies. I've got a real thing for nature, and I love locomotives. I'm big into my fashion. I like to keep it exciting, and I'm really into art. I'm also a bit of a petrol head. How many kids do you have? One baby girl, one baby mother. Real bad man. People say I like rules. The truth? I live for discipline. I'm not much of a trash talker.
Get out the fucking road, you idiot!
Sorry, that's what my manager's for. He's always got me back.
Arnold, it's Sam. Listen to me. You've got to take this fight. I mean, I love Jack to pieces, but I think you'll chin him.
Sam?
Jack, I promise it's not what it looks like. Right hand to God, Jack. It's
It's okay, Sam. Sam, it's okay. Guess what I do for a living could be considered boring. 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 They look a bit bored, don't they? Boring. Boring. So boring. I put another one to sleep. Boring.
Phenomenal stuff. Well done once again to the Matchroom team.
Incredible.
And one of the stars of that promo is joining us right now. He is the manager to the Stars. In my opinion, he is one of the most fascinating, interesting, fun, different characters in the sport of boxing. Reminds me a bit of like an old school WWE manager, if you will. A bit Paul Heyman, if you get what I'm saying. You probably don't, Ade, but I know he does.
I do know who Paul Heyman is. What are you talking about? I know who Paul Heyman is.
The man, Sam Jones, manager to the Stars, manager to one Jack Catterall, kind enough to join us. Hello, Sam. How are you?
I love the comparison to Paul Heyman. I'm really happy with this.
Okay, so that's a compliment to you. You get it, right?
Absolutely. We love Paul Heyman.
Is that a conscious thing on your part? Because I notice, at least in the sport of boxing, a lot of the managers like to stay behind the scenes. They let the promoter do the thing. They let the trainers do the thing. But I noticed with you, I mean, the lead up to that Catterall-Taylor fight, you were phenomenal. You're always bigging up your guys. You don't mind the spotlight. You don't mind the interviews. Is this a conscious thing on your part?
Listen, it's about, if I can contribute even a little bit to putting an extra backside in a seat or helping my fighter earn more money, if it means I have to kind of take a bit of stick or give out stick, like what Regis Prograis did to me in the last press conference, it is what it is. I mean, I would like to think that I'm very good at my job. Well, I know I'm very good at my job, but the added thing is I think I'm a good promoter as well. So I think it's all a bit of I'm a decent package.
Well, I'm so happy that you brought up the Regis Prograis scene prior to Jack's last fight. For those that may not know what you are referring to, and you also refer to it in that promo as well, let us just refresh everyone's memory.
Wait. I got something else to say, right? I'm gonna slash everything right now. A long time ago, Sam Jones, his manager, where you at, Sam? Sam actually said, I will beat Jack's ass. A long time ago, right? And I got proof right now. If y'all want to hear it, I got proof. He said flatten him.
Right hand to God, never said that. Listen, you've been hitting the head too much by Devin Haney, my friend.
Watch this. Listen, everybody, be quiet.
I like Jack, by the way. I know him very well, but I do think you flatten him. You understand what I mean? Because you're a different guy to Josh Taylor. Jack wants to fight, but I think your promoter was like,
I know when that was. Want
to do it again? Wait, hold on.
We just need to hear it one more time.
I know when that was.
Hold on.
I know when that was. Regis, I've got some messages of you, so just think very carefully before you play that next one.
I know him very well, but I do think... I like Jack, by the way. I know him very well, but I do think you flatten him.
This is before I knew Jack. I'd never met Jack before.
Wants to fight you, but I think...
You never met Jack?
I'd never met Jack.
Tell us, I mean, this was a hard watch, Sam, and I felt for you, my guy. I really did.
Why are you playing it again then, Ariel?
Well, because he brought it up. He brought it up.
You know what it was, Ariel? I felt bad for myself because legitimately, right, anyone that knows me, I literally forgot that phone call tape. It wasn't a voice note. It was a video call. So I was trying to make the fight between Regis Prograis and Jack Catterall before I worked with Jack as a manager. So what I said was, and I was trying to make people understand this, how am I going to convince who was the WBC champion of the world at the time, Regis Prograis, when he had just freshly beat Zepeda? How am I going to convince him to fight Jack Catterall by saying, oh, you know what? You're going to get your head punched off by Jack and soundly outpointed it over 12 rounds. Please give him a voluntary defense. It's never going to happen. So, yeah, he caught me out. He sent me to hell there, Regis, and fair play. It got loads of clicks and I got loads of abuse, but it won't be the first time I get abuse and it won't be the last time. So it is what it is. But you see what it is? Regis, I love Regis. He's still my guy. I still like him. And I just had to accept my very rare L at a press conference there. He did 10-7 me in that press conference.
Yeah. Honestly, it was a 10-7. It was a retirement. I will say this though, Sam. Ariel was giving you a lot of plaudits at the top of the show. One thing he didn't say, and I think this is true. I think you're the best manager in the game. I don't say that as someone that I know you because I know you personally. I just think what you offer to the sport of boxing is fantastic. A lot of managers are behind the scenes, but in today's age where fighters don't talk so much, I think you're so needed. You get your fighters the big fights, you get them paid, and I think every fighter that works with you is very, very happy. That said, and be honest here, Sam, after all that came out with Regis, how difficult was it with Jack? I mean, were there tough conversations or was it easy?
I genuinely ask him. He didn't give. Can I swear? Sorry.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, do what you want.
He couldn't give a flying shit because he knew that he didn't care. If you know Jack, he couldn't get any more laid back, but he knew. Like, listen, if I would have said that to him 3 weeks ago, or like before the fight, or I don't know, even a year ago, whatever, then okay, there's a serious problem there. I'd fire myself. But I know I wouldn't say it because anyone that knows me, if I'm with you, you've got me all. I work. The thing is what you were saying, Addy, about manager, and I really appreciate that because I genuinely believe there's no better manager in boxing than me. Listen, other people might have disagreed. There's a lot of great managers and a lot of managers I have a lot of respect for. But I believe that you can't just ring the fighter up nowadays and say, this is your fight date, this is how much you're getting, I'll see you on fight week. I have to have a personal relationship with the fighters. And no job is too small. It's like this week with Jack. I'm his PA. Like Jack said to me, will you get me a cup of tea earlier? Yeah, of course I can. I would never think, I would never turn my nose up at being told to do a job because I think I've got him a great purse. I've got him a great fight. But that's all well and good. Now you have to be the PA. It's fight week. So if he wants a bottle of water fetching, you go and do it. If you're getting punched in the head for money and you're taking a percentage off a fighter, you have to earn every fucking penny you get off that guy. And he has to want to give you the money at the end. Because that's the problem. Sometimes fighters or anybody, they resent paying their managers or their trainers. I want Jack and my other fighters to think, here you go, you deserve every penny you get. And that's why I can't be outworked.
No, honestly, I think the work ethic's incredible. All right, let's go to this Saturday. It's a big one against Arnold Barboza. I watched his fight. I was there against Ramirez. I thought he boxed fantastically well. Probably the best I've seen him box for a while. I think this is a genuine 50-50 fight. I know some will edge to Jack because Jack's fighting in his backyard, but I think it's a great fight. I think it should be a world title fight as well. I don't know what Teofimo's doing with the WBO belt. What's the situation around that? What have you heard? I mean, is it a case of Teofimo could vacate? Is the winner going to fight Teofimo? Has that been promised?
Well, listen, I speak to Keith Connolly regularly, who represents Teofimo Lopez now, and we speak often, so we kind of know the situation. I don't personally think Lopez is going to fight Jack Catchell or Barboza, the winner of this fight, and it's not because Teofimo's ducking the fight. He sees himself as a huge star, right? And Teo is a big star, right? He is. Yeah, he's a big name in boxing, and he'll look at somebody like Barboza or Jack and just think, do you know what? Even though I think Jack, especially in the UK, he's established himself as a headliner and a big name, right? But Lopez will want the Boots Ennis fights. He'll want think he can get a Crawford type fight. So I believe the winner of this fight will be elevated to full champion. And rightfully so. I think Barboza, I know he had a questionable performance against Sean McComb, but ultimately he's 31 fights undefeated and he commands respect. He boxed very well against Ramirez, even though I do think Ramirez has seen, in the greatest of respect to Jose Ramirez, I believe he'd seen better days, but you have to beat what's put in front of you. Jack beat a 38-year-old Linares, past his best, but that was what was put in front of him. He's beaten Josh Taylor twice, in my opinion, and he beat Regis Prograis. So Jack's coming off a great run of form, and other than the McComb fight, so is Barboza. So it's two really good fighters battling it out for the 140-pound WBO title. And I've got loads of respect for Barboza. I'll have to double check my messages or previous calls to him to make sure I haven't said he was going to whoop Jack at any stage.
I love it.
We'll have to double check that shit. But other than that, no, I'm only joking. I've got loads of respect for Barboza and his manager, Rick Mirrigan, who's going to come over to the press conference and we'll have some fun on Thursday. yeah, and it's a great fight, and I hope everyone tunes in. I hope everyone in the States watches the fight and sees how good of a fighter Jack Catchell is, because it's two brilliant fighters coming together. I just think Jack Catchell's gonna beat him in every department.
By the way, Sam, just curious, I've thought of this in the past. Your relationship with the promoters, with the likes of Eddie Hearn, who obviously loves to promote and get his name and face and voice out there as well. Like, I feel like you could be a tremendous promoter. Do you ever butt heads with these guys because you're so outspoken? They may want you to be off into the shadows. They don't want you to talk at the press conferences. How does that dynamic work?
No, because I'm doing it for free, really. The promoters aren't paying me free, so fuck me, I'm the cheapest guy going.
Yeah. So why don't you promote? Would you want to promote?
Free. I'm still waiting for Eddie to send me a check for the Josh Taylor promotional video, but I'm not going to get that. But no, listen, I'd never say never in boxing. I love managing boxers. I'm so blessed to be involved in this sport. I love working day to day with fighters, but look, I would love to be a promoter one day or work under a promotional banner and I'm not saying being the main guy, but be a part of it, build fights, make fights. I love it. I live for it. And I'm really blessed to be involved in the sport that I love.
I think you would do phenomenal at it, honestly. And I feel like that's where we're headed here. And I think you would be a great asset to the scene.
Get me a job, Ariel. Get me a job.
Listen, I'm not the guy. I'm not the guy.
Ariel and Addy, you need to add my name to this podcast and we'll boost up them numbers again.
By the way, you've got a great stable, and one guy that I'm very high on, Ade not so much, but I told him when the deal was done, I said Pat Brown is going to be a superstar. Don't sleep on this guy. Don't sleep on Pat Brown. March 28th, 2,000 tickets already, and some might say he's the greatest ticket seller in all of the UK. You actually said this with a straight face in an interview when you got the likes of Tyson Fury and AJ still out there. But I respect the hustle. I respect the game. Why is Pat Brown that guy? Why is he the next face of UK boxing?
Addy, listen, it's unheard of, right? It's not like an exaggeration. There's never been a fighter on his professional debut to sell 2,000 tickets out of their hand. It's just unheard of, right? He's good looking. He can fight like, I keep thinking I can't swear. He can fight like fuck. And he's got a crowd pleasing style. He's gonna put asses in seats, or in what the Americans say, asses in seats.
Yeah,
he's gonna really do. He's gonna do that because listen, I think boxers. It's hard nowadays because there's this social media world. You can't just be a good boxer. You have to. I know it's whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it is the world we live in. You need to be able to sell yourself. You need to be able to give people a reason. To come and watch you box. Pat Brown is going to do that. He actually doesn't need me to talk on his behalf. Pat Brown's a better speaker than I am, so he's a pleasure to work with already. But I promise you, people will take notice of him very, very, very quickly. And make sure you tune into his debut on March the 28th, where it's going to be absolutely packed, and it'll be one of the best atmospheres you've ever heard. I know Addy's going to be there, so Addy, you're going to have to...
yeah, come on, Addy. Get on board, Addy.
It's going to blow your head off.
I'm on board. I think he's the real deal. And look, he ticks every box. He speaks well. He is good looking. He's massive for the weight. He's a big puncher. I think that's all you need. And, he can box. So we'll see what he can do. I'm so intrigued,
Conor
Sam.
Tudsbury this weekend, by the way. I just need to pop that in. Conor Tudsbury this weekend. Wait till you watch that boy tap. Watch him. He's going to be boxing at about 7 o'clock. He's going to put people to kip.
I love it.
Look at it. That's why I told you Sam's the best. See what I told you, Ari? I said he's the best. Look at this, right? We didn't even mention Conor, and he got him straight in there. One fight I really want to talk about, Sam, though, is Johnny Fisher, Dave Allen. Look, semi-controversial, let's be honest, the fight in Saudi Arabia. They've got to go again. They've got to go. It's now bigger. Whether it be the Copper Box, whether it be Leighton Orient, Brisbane Road. I know Eddie was there on the weekend. What's going on with that? There must be conversations about that rematch happening.
No, I've not really had many conversations about it. Johnny's been on holiday. He's been in Australia a while. I know he spoke to Eddie while he's out there, but you would imagine that's got to be the fight that's next, because there's no real fight for either guy. And it was a very controversial decision. I mean, I was very honest in my interviews about it. I scored the fight to Dave Allen by a point, but people needed to have. This is the problem with boxing is like you go, oh, he's been right, but you don't see the other side of it. That Johnny Fisher has zero amateur experience, zero, and he got dragged into deep waters, and many fighters would have folded after that, especially when Dave put him on the floor and he got up and he boxed on for 5 more rounds. It was a brilliant fight, and I'm sure we're going to see that again next.
Yeah, let's go through the stable very quickly. One young fighter that I know you've been talking about. You've been telling me about this guy for a couple of years. He's had a couple of tough fights recently. Cameron Vong. I saw pictures of him sparring Shakur Stevenson, which, I mean, that must have been amazing. Obviously, look, Jordan Flynn, finally. We get to see that fight, the grudge match. Talk to us about Cameron.
See, Cameron had, like you say, I'm honest when it comes to scoring fights. I don't like blow smoke up my fighters. Like, listen, I might do it on the cameras and stuff, but to them, like Cameron will tell you, like I'm not hard on him, but like I'll say, but Cameron boxed Jeff Ofori. I mean, he's had 7 fights, and in those fights, he's boxed Jeff Ofori, who everybody knows on the circuit. You can't look good against him. It's just a learning experience, and he came through that, clear winner in that fight, and then he boxed Gavin Gwynn. Gavin Gwynn is a former British Commonwealth and European champion, bags of experience, and he put it on Cameron in that fight. And in times, Cameron was struggling to kind of deal with the pressure. It was never hurt or anything like that. Cameron showed that he's got real dog in him. And I scored the fight to Cameron in that fight. I thought he landed all the better shots. I watched the fight back and I scored the fight to Cameron again. But was it Cameron's best performance? Absolutely not, because it was just inexperience. But if you see today, and Eddie will tell you, because I mean, Eddie watched the spar. I wasn't there, but Cameron rang me and he said they were so impressed with him, and he more than held his own with a pound for pound fighter like Shakur Stevenson. I'm a huge Shakur Stevenson fan, and that's what Cameron models himself off. It's his favourite fighter, so it's a great experience for Cameron today. And now I think we've got that maturity of Cameron. He's got all those rounds and experience in the bank. I honestly believe Cameron Vong will be a world champion. I really do. It was all down to experience, and I like Jordan Flynn, by the way. I get on really well with Jordan, but I think Cameron's going to be a completely different level to him, and I think he'll smash him to pieces on the 28th of March in Altrincham. It's going to be a great card. It's a really great card.
Sam, yeah, it's a great card.
You're a legend. You're an absolute legend. Thank you so much for coming on. Keep up the great work.
Does this mean I've made it now? Now I'm on your show, Ariel.
I mean,
kind
you said
of.
it.
It does.
You said it.
No, Ariel. Ade. You're on Ade's show.
You're on our show.
Ade, yeah, but Ade, me and you, we kind of know each other before, so like I need to be in your green chair. But now I'm on this show. That means I've
and by the way, I hope they told you behind the scenes, Fred and the crew. Who said let's get Sam on the show? It wasn't your mate.
Ariel did. Ariel did.
Before you pull my plug, right? Because I'm talking so much. I was actually set first reserve on this. I was told, by the way, we want De La Hoya on here, but he's
not me.
So I'm first reserve, but I'm happy to be first reserve to Oscar De La Hoya. Oi, if you got him on the show, I'm glad to not be on the show. Let him on it.
Nah, you're the man. You're the man, Sam. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. The first of many appearances. Good luck to you and the team on Saturday. What a guy. What energy. Love that. I think he could be a great promoter, by the way. I think he can really be that guy. Standing at the dais, directing traffic,
100%.
Building people up. Ade, let's turn our attention to Friday, because it's not just about Canelo Barbosa. On Friday, right here in New York at the theater, right next door to Madison Square Garden, phenomenal top-ranked card. I mean, a who's who is on this card. Xander Zayas, Jared Anderson, Abdullah Mason, and of course, the great Keyshawn Davis, yes, the silver medalist, looking to extend his undefeated record against Dennis Branchek. I'm very high on him. I loved all the fights on this card. Like, this is one of Top Rank's best offerings, and it's almost a shame that it's at the theater. What do we have to do to get a big card back at the actual big Mecca, the actual Madison Square Garden? This is the one with the cool lights and the ceiling and all that stuff, but it's not quite the same. In any event, wanted to get your thoughts on Keyshawn. Obviously, people want to see him fight Shakur. That's never going to happen. They're longtime best friends. They're like family, essentially, but maybe a tank fight, probably not. What do you think? Keyshawn, how high are you on him?
Very high. Honestly, I think I actually did a video today on my own channel, and I said, look, he could be the best 135-pounder. He could be. Like, and I put Javante and I put Shakur in there. Like, he's got this killer instinct. He's willing to take all the challenges. I remember that little altercation he had with Teofimo Lopez. He's been asking about that fight. He said, look, I'll go to 140, I'll go to 147 to fight you. He wants the big fights, but this is a tough fight right in front of him. Berencic's no joke. I mean, you mentioned that Keyshawn's a medalist. So is Berencic. He was a 2012 Olympic silver medal. He's a world championship medalist as well. He's part of that Ukraine team that had Loma, that had Vodzik, that had Usyk. So a lot of people expected Berencic to be on that level. He maybe hasn't achieved what obviously those guys achieved, but he's unbeaten. He's coming off a really good win against Navarrete, underdog in that fight. Found a way to win. It was a split decision, but I thought he should have won. He should have won it clear for me. So this isn't easy work at all. And one thing Keyshawn maybe lacks is experience at the very highest fights, whereas that's what Berencic has. So I think Keyshawn will get the job done, but this is a tough fight. This is a very, very, and so it should be for a world title. But I think Berencic's been slept on a little bit. This almost seems to be the Keyshawn show. Like we've already crowned Keyshawn the king.
Yeah.
And there's a Ukrainian here that, I don't know, could cause a bit of an upset. So I'm not sleeping on this one. I think this is a really 50-50 scrap.
11-year age gap between them. Berencic 36, Keyshawn 25. Yeah. But as you mentioned, it's for the WBO lightweight title. And it's a big card. Like I didn't mention Nico Ali Walsh. I didn't mention Vito Milniecki. It's a really great card from Top Rank, and I hope they get to do more of these. We found out earlier today that ESPN is out of the Top Rank business. Their deal is up in August, and they have told them that they can go explore. Otherwise, would it be tampering if I say come to us? You know, I'll take a card like this on DAZN. Is that tampering? Am I allowed to say that?
No, not at all. No,
okay.
I think we can say that. I mean,
we're the faces
Queensberry
of
did a
DAZN,
deal.
or at least you are.
Queensberry did a deal with DAZN before their deal with TNT ended. Right. So, I mean, it can happen, right? It can happen. And it almost seems inevitable, if I'm honest with you. Look, I don't know anything, people. Don't come at me. But it just seems as though surely Top Rank are going to have a conversation with DAZN. Like, surely Golden Boy, Top Rank, Matchroom in America, it seems to make sense. And it would mean that fights are made a lot easier as well. But by the way, I'm shocked that this card is at the small room in Madison Square Garden. I mean, when you mention those names, I mean, how that doesn't do MSG is surprising. I don't have to fill MSG. I mean, you could have 12,000 in there, 13,000, but you can still be in the big room. I'm actually surprised because you mentioned some Abdullah Mason, Jared Anderson, Xander Zayas, one of the best 154-pounders in the world, I think. Keyshawn Davis.
It might be the best Top Rank card in years in terms of like all their dudes.
Can't think of one.
On one bill. You know, Abdullah Mason might be like the prospect that everyone is the highest on in boxing, certainly under 25 years old. He is that guy. So, I agree, but it's a nice intimate scene. Have you ever been to the theater? It's a great scene.
I have.
Yeah.
I have been to the theater. Yeah. And it is nice. Don't get me wrong. It is nice. It's small. It's intimate. But as you say, I mean, can we get a fight at MSG, please? I mean, it's been since Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor. I mean, really?
Yeah, crazy.
Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor was the last one. We've not had a big fight in America since to kind of put it in New York.
3 years. That was April 30th, 2022. That was the last time. So, you are preaching to the choir. I would love to go back to the Mecca to watch a big fight. Let's talk about a big fight that happened this past weekend. Back in the UK, in Manchester, it was the penultimate Last Dance. The Last Dance in the UK for one Derek Chisora. And he got it done against Otto Wallin. And I know you were out there with the pom-poms. You were rooting your guy on. I mean, all objectivity was thrown out the window. You were rooting for Del Boy. You wanted him to win. And it was a great performance. It was a tremendous performance. It was old school, if you will. Thoughts on the performance, and then we'll get to the aftermath. But I'd love to know what you thought of what he did and perhaps what Otto Wallin didn't do on Saturday night.
Yeah, it wasn't as good as Paul Dempsey made it out to be. I mean, Paul Dempsey made it out as though Chisora is Muhammad Ali, and it wasn't quite like that. Yeah, I was like, well, what's going on, Paul? Calm down a little bit. But look, it was a Chisora performance. I mean, I've been watching Chisora for years, and he fights one way, and that was what we saw on Saturday. Maybe a bit slower, maybe takes a bit more punishment, but that's still Derek Chisora. He switched southpaw a few times, which surprised me. I think it surprised Chisora, if I'm honest with you. But Chisora fights the way Chisora fights. He's in your chest. I mean, if you don't like that style of fighting, then you're going to have a difficult night. And Otto Wallin clearly didn't like that style of fighting. I mean, Chisora's fitness levels for a guy that's 41 are incredible. I mean, he's an old school 15-rounder type fighter. He can go 15 rounds in his sleep. He looks knackered from the first minute, and all of a sudden he's still there at round 12 swinging away. I think there was round 6 where he threw like 26 punches in one go. He had like Otto Volin on the ropes and he just kind of went away like he was on the heavy bag. And I was like, how do you do that? How do you do that at 41 while still taking punishment? That being said, Ariel, I hate to do this. Otto Volin was awful. It was an embarrassment. And it was an embarrassment of a performance. Otto Volin, for too long, I think, has lived off this Tyson Fury defeat. Now, everyone keeps on saying, oh, he lost to Tyson Fury, he pushed Tyson Fury. I need to hear more stories. I need to hear about your wins. And it just doesn't seem to happen. He almost seemed petrified in there. And the only excuse I will give him is that it was an 18 by 18 foot ring. And if you're Otto Volin who likes to move and fight on the back foot, you want that ring to be a bit bigger. But he seemed petrified of throwing hands. I'm like, what are you doing? This is the wrong time if you're in the heavyweight division to put a performance like that. Because even if you lose, I think we've seen this with Turkey, you will get a callback to get in a big fight. And if I'm a manager or promoter, and I genuinely mean this, I would maybe look away from Otto Volin as an opponent because that's not what you want. I mean, Chisora, again, is 41. Chisora was in his 49th fight. And I say these things to mean that Chisora's had a lot of wear and tear, and he isn't the Chisora of a few years ago, and he's still fighting petrified. Honestly, I was very, very disappointed with Otto Volin's performance.
Well, perhaps you weren't impressed with that. I was impressed with Lethal Bizzle, Tiny Tempa, and Skepta, I believe, in the ring afterwards, holding up the posters. It was, I mean, number one rule, Ade, you know this better than anyone. You don't give up the mic. You can't give up the mic. You can't do it.
Can't believe it.
And Derek it was open mic night with Derek. He was walking around the ring. He was talking to everyone. He was calling out his old trainer. But in the end, we had these three fine gentlemen holding up the posters. So it was Usyk, it was AJ, it was Dubois. Why do I feel like none of those are going to happen for number 50?
Because none of them will happen. I mean, they're the wrong cards. It's almost like the printer got it wrong.
Yeah.
Everyone was surprised. I was like, well, a second, where's White? Where's Ngannou? Where's Wilder?
Yeah.
Those are more realistic options. I mean, AJ's your friend, and yes, it's the biggest money fight, but AJ's your friend. AJ's not going to fight Derek Chisora. I love Chisora, but he's not deserving of a fight against Alexander Usyk. He's just not. And he's not deserving of a fight against Daniel Dubois. There is a queue. I mean, Bacoli's fighting a Jagbar. They're in front of the queue. And Parker's fighting Dubois, and let's see how that plays out. So, no, for me, none of those will happen. I mean, I personally don't want to see Chisora fight again. And I say this as a friend of his. I don't like to see him take the punishment he takes. Even with that win, now you saw his face after, he still took a bit of punishment. I'd rather him call it quits. But if he is going to have number 50, it shouldn't be any of those guys that the cards were being held up with. It's no, none of those. None of those even make sense.
Honestly, I was watching that scene. The crowd was electric. Were you there or were you watching at home?
At home.
Why would he go anywhere else? The crowd was electric for a headliner with Ado Valin involved. Like, why are we doing this second to last one and the last one in the UK? Number 50 should be in the UK, should it not? I mean, it was just,
yeah.
Can he draw more than that? I understand maybe the desire to have a fight in Africa, but and far be it from me. I mean, number 50, do your thing. But I was actually blown away by the interest in that fight, like the energy in there. It was like a big time championship fight. That's how it felt.
Yeah, and bear in mind, I mean, Derek Chisora's from London. I mean, he's based in London all of his career. I mean, and that's in Manchester. That's what, 3.5 hours away. So a fight with anyone at the O2 Arena in London sells out. Look, for me, it has to be Dillian Whyte. I know we've gone kind of around the houses and back and forth with different names. Dillian Whyte fights Joe Joyce, April 5th. If Dillian Whyte comes through that one, the trilogy fight between those two, it will always do well. And, you know, I spoke to Dillian Whyte about Otto Volin's performance, and he wasn't very nice and respectful either. Dillian Whyte will fight Chisora the way Chisora fights Dillian Whyte. It'll be fantastic. And that really is the fight that everyone wants to see again. That will be number 50. Anything else is, especially the ones that we saw in the ring, those are just unrealistic. And there is a queue. And as much as I love Chisora, I don't think you jump the queue to fight Usyk, Dubois, or even AJ at this stage.
Yeah, he was tweeting about Usyk earlier today. I don't think
I saw it. I saw it.
God bless him.
Yeah, I saw it.
God bless him.
Yeah.
God bless him.
Yeah.
You were there, speaking of Queensberry, on Monday for this kickoff press conference. Frank Warren, last week on the show, he had hinted that there was some big news coming, a full slate of fights coming, and the deal with DAZN starts in earnest on April 1st. And I got to say, some interesting fights. Just a few reading off the press release here from our good friend Fred Meller of DAZN. Dillian White taking on Joe Joyce. That's on April 5th. Also on that card, Lawrence Okoli against Richard Riakporhe. He's going up to heavyweight. We saw him not that long ago against Chris Billum-Smith. What soccer stadium was that? That was at, Brentford? No, Crystal Palace.
Crystal Palace.
Yeah. Shout out. This one I love. Anthony Kakachi against my guy Lee Wood. Back home in Nottingham. I love that one. That's on May 10th at the Motor Point Arena. We've got Josh Taylor also in May. A bunch of names. Let me ask you this. Which one do you like the most? Which one are you most excited about?
Kakachi Lee Wood.
Yeah.
Kakachi Lee Wood. I mean, I was there for Conlon versus Lee Wood. And I mentioned that one because that's an Irish fighter against Lee Wood. Obviously, Kakachi is going to bring that Irish fans as well. You've got the Nottingham fans. The noise in that venue is going to be insane. And look, I feel sorry for Lee Wood. He's been on the sidelines waiting for an opportunity. I know he's been injured, but he's been begging for an opportunity. He hasn't got the opportunity. All of a sudden, he has to move up and wait and fight Kakachi, who's on a tear at the moment. Obviously beat Joe Cordina, beat Josh Warrington. So this is going to be a rocky fight. I mean, I can bet my house this fight doesn't go past 7 rounds. No way. Someone's getting knocked out. I think both are going to get off the canvas. This is going to be violent, and the atmosphere is going to just... You've got to be there. You're a Nottingham fan. This is your guy fighting. You have to come over.
No one asks me to go anywhere. No one asks.
I'm asking you now.
They just want me in the studio here in New York. That's it. That's all I'm good for.
No. I think Lee wants you as well. I think Lee would
that'd be nice. You think if I walk out with Lee, city ground, always on,
I think you'll be bottom of the queue. Obviously, Lee knows the Nottingham Forest players.
Yeah.
By name, he knows them personally. I think he'll probably get look at you, MG Duffy.
My guy, MG Dub? Come on, stop it. By the way, we're I'm 100% locked in on the program, but also 10% locked in on penalties right now against Exeter City. So I just want to let you all know that we are fully in support of all things Reds. By the way, who do you think gets a louder ovation at the Motor Point? Myself or Flat Earth Froch? What do you think? Like, who's more of a prodigal son in Nottingham?
Unfortunately, it's still Flat Earth Froch. I mean,
you said it. You finally said it. I like it.
Yeah, Flat Earth Froch. Yeah, unfortunately,
gives a flying fuck about Carl Froch or what he's got to say. Is anybody really interested?
Why does Frank Warren still call him Froch? After all these years, I don't quite understand the Froch thing. He knows his name, Froch. I don't quite get it. I don't quite get it. Oh, but look, what Carl did in that building.
Oh, yeah. Legend.
I mean, Lucien Boutte, Carl's win over Lucien Boutte in that building, sensational. But that was topped by what Lee Wood did to Michael Conlon. So it's Lee Wood's building now. And that's why I can't wait to see him fight. But it's going to be a tough one against Kakachi. Very tough.
Shout out to Lucien Boutte, the fellow Quebecois. Love that guy.
Great fighter.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good fighter, man.
All right. Let's continue and let's talk about fights to come. Obviously, we just told you about Catterall going up against Barbosa. Yep. Love this. Can't wait. What a venue. That's this weekend, Co-op Live. Shall you be there? Will you be there?
Hey.
Yes?
I will be there. I'm presenting it. And some good undercard fights as well. Reece Pelotti versus Michael Gomez Jr. Now, they were supposed to fight on the undercard of Catterall versus Prograis. And at the 11th hour, I mean literally about 45 minutes before they were due to walk, Michael Gomez Jr. got injured or got sick. Reece Pelotti was on stage. He was swearing, effing, blinding. I had to tell him, apologize for the language, all that crap. They fight now. They fight on Saturday. And there is so much bad blood between those two. I can't wait for that. So that's a good one. That's on the card as well. Jazza Dickens is on the card. I mentioned him because Tony Bellew, I think, looks after him, manages him. He's a good fighter as well. He takes on a guy called Zelfa Barrett. So some really good undercard fights. Pat McCormack on the card as well. It's a good card. Honestly, it's a very, very good card. And Matchroom, I like what's going on now. Every time Queensberry do a good card, Matchroom do a good card. There's a little battle going on right now. It's good stuff for British boxing.
Competition makes everyone better. It's only better for us, the fans, right? When there's competition, everyone kind of, they try to sign the bigger name. They try to sign the prospect. They try to make better cards, more stacked cards. It's better. Rising tide lifts all boats. Have you been to that venue yet? Everyone glows about that venue. Have you been to the Co-op Live?
I have. I was there. I was there on Thursday.
Oh, okay.
I was there on Thursday for the.
Have you seen a fight?
I've actually been there for a fight. I don't know.
What were you doing on a Thursday?
So
there? What was happening?
That was the announcement. I mean, sorry, Thursday. Apologies.
Oh, Monday.
Yesterday. Monday. Yes, Monday. Apologies.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
I was there for the announcement. Yeah.
Okay,
but I don't know if I've been there for a fight. But everyone talks about it as though it's the best venue.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward.
The outside
to it.
is cool with the screens up top and all that stuff.
I must have been there. I've been to so many. I must have. I've done thousands of venues.
But it's relatively new. It's not even a year old. So.
Yeah, but I think I was there last year for. Oh yeah, wait. Josh Taylor, Jack Catchell, 2. I'm pretty sure was there. I don't know. I don't
think it was there.
I can't remember.
I don't think it was
that was
there.
at the first direct, wasn't it? Was that the first direct? I can't remember. Can someone tell me? Can someone message me and just tell me, please, if I've been there?
Josh Taylor. No, I'm pretty sure that was. I think the
wait. Jack Catchell Regis Prograde.
OVO Hydro. That was in Scotland. What are you talking about? Oh, were you at Jack Catchell?
No,
Regis Prograde.
Regis Prograde, Jack Catchell. I'm sure that was there.
Yeah, it was there. You were there? How do you not remember this?
I was there. I do too many events.
Well, at the same time, we're going back to back again. Over in Anaheim, we'll have Oscar Duarte on a Golden Boy card. So if you want to sit down and watch 12 straight hours of boxing, we're the place to be for all of that. And then, of course, we're a week away from the massive one over in Riyadh, February 22nd. Next week's show is just going to be all February 22nd related. Artur Beterbiev, Dmitry Bivol, on it goes. Can't look at these names. Look at these.
Oh man, look at that. Oh my, look. Oh, that's really nice. Look at that.
That is really nice. Golly, who made that?
That's the first time I've seen that.
Belts all night. Look at this.
Wow. What is this? Is fantastic.
Keep it coming. Are there more names? Are they going to throw all of them?
Are they going to show everything, or is it just
like them? This is like.
Oh my god, this is
like
sensational.
WrestleMania when they do this. This is amazing. Oh, look at this.
Oh my lord! I haven't heard much from Schofield. Like he's just gone a bit quiet.
He tweeted something earlier. Look at this one. Yeah, Hamza Shiraz, Carlos Adames. Yeah. He said that there's like a mole in his camp. Oh, Virgil Ortiz.
That's a tough fight for Ortiz.
Oh,
this card. It is the greatest fight card ever. It is.
What a promo!
It's the greatest fight card ever. I can't believe this is coming up last. Look at that. How's that last? Boatsy Smith.
I mean, of all the ones out there, it has to be. You say last, it should be first.
No, so I'm trying to. No.
It's the curtain jerker.
Yeah, sorry, third.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think Jean Cabello should be.
Nah, come on, not Big Bang.
No,
Shang.
what?
You ain't curtain jerking for no one. Big Bang Shang? Are you kidding me? You ain't curtain jerking for no one. Boatsy Smith. You guys
I've never heard of this name before.
Curtain jerk. They're the ones who opened the show.
Never heard it.
Well, you could steal that one. By the way, when you do the presenting on February 22nd, say, and here come the curtain jerkers, Joshua Boatsy and Cal Smith. They could have headlined over at the Co-op Live, but here the card is so good, they're curtain jerking.
Do you feel like that's a bad thing? I mean, like interest. Like if you're told, okay, you could headline main event at the Co-op, or you could be curtain jerkers in Saudi Arabia, like. Would you main event, or would you say, okay, cool, we're happy being curtain jerkers?
Nah, I think it's a prestigious card. They've been around.
Okay.
Smith has certainly been around. I think it's a prestigious card.
And I can't believe it's opening a fight card. I can't believe it.
You know what's funny? In all the interviews that I see from like Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren, everyone who's promoting this, they always mention that fight. Some of the other fights get skipped, and so they always say this card is so stacked. Callum Smith versus Joshua Boatsy is the curtain jerker. They don't say that. They say it's the first fight, whatever. And so I feel like as a result of being first, it actually gets talked about more than Shakur and Schofield or Madrimov or Ortiz. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it kind of gives them a little bit of an edge being first. I don't mind it. And I've heard from a lot of fighters who say they like to fight early because they know exactly when they're walking out. When you're walking out first, you know exactly when that is, right? So
that's a very, very good point. You do. Yes, you can prepare quite easily. Yeah, indeed.
So there might be something to that.
It's a great fight.
There might be something to that. Time now for everyone's favorite segment of the week, presented by no one.
Nobody.
But we're working on it. It's our parting shot.
Episode 11. Wow.
We're working on it. We're working through the kinks. Parting shot, and we go back to Manchester, where Del Boy himself, Derek Chisora, turned back the clock. Look at this one. Multiple
delayed reaction is astounding.
It was like 10 steps.
Wait, why are you laughing?
No, it was just like a lot of steps. He was falling backwards. More.
Chisora's a nightmare. Like, he's just a nightmare to fight. Look. Even with a cut eye, it doesn't affect him. Look at him.
Who wins, Chisora or Ngannou?
Do you know? Oh, Chisora, like comfortably.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, Ngannou's not fought anything like that. Like no, like
he's just
AJ and Fury are nice and they box. To have someone on your chest like that for 12 rounds, and Chisora is very strong. It'd be a nightmare for Ngannou because this isn't a boxing match; it's a fight. So I just don't give Ngannou any chance whatsoever against Chisora.
Some might say this would be kind of Ngannou's thing. Like he's more used to a rock'em sock'em fight, right? As opposed to just being technical like AJ is. I actually think he would be. I don't know if he ultimately wins, but I think he would be comfortable in a setting like that.
Okay, I know what you mean in terms of fighting a pure boxer.
Yeah,
I just think the gas tank will run empty very quickly when you're fighting someone like Chisora. Like you're not used to that. You're not used to that. Has he ever gone 5 rounds in MMA?
Hell yeah, he went 5 rounds against Stipe. He lost that fight, but he went 5 rounds. And then, of course,
he look shattered? Was he done?
Oh, he was done after the first round. That was the big one that kind of exposed the lack of gas tank. But then, of course, the biggest one of all was the Ciryl Gane fight, where he had the torn ACL, down 2 rounds to none, and then all of a sudden became a high-level wrestler and won the last 3 on the last fight of his deal, and then sailed off into free agency. So he's gone 5 rounds, and of course went 10 against Tyson Fury.
That's true. That's very, very true. I mean, look, maybe I was being a bit disrespectful, but I just feel like Chisora is just unless you can chin him. I mean, and Ngannou can punch, right? But unless you can like put him to sleep, good luck, because it's a nightmare. I mean, everyone says Usyk's toughest fight was against Chisora, not against AJ twice or Fury twice, against Chisora. That's what Chisora brings to the table. It's pressure for 12 rounds. It's a bit of a nightmare.
By the way, come on, how good was it when I said that you didn't believe in Pat Brown to Sam, and he was like trying to convince you?
Awful.
It was so good. Awful. He was trying to convince you.
Yeah, and I'm like, 1 second, I'm Pat Brown's biggest cheerleader. And I was just like, what is Ariel doing? That was Ariel doing.
Those are the best.
Well, you know what I liked? When you said to him, okay, tell us, why is Pat Brown good? And it wasn't good looking, was his first thing. It wasn't like, his boxing ability and the Olympics and good looking. I was like, okay, well.
The package.
All right.
Marketing, baby. You gotta talk about the things that draw people in.
I think he was wrong though. You know when he said
he's not good looking.
No one's come out.
Okay, I said
no. You know the bit where he said no one in their debut fight sold 2,000 tickets or something. I was like, well, 1 second, Amir Khan did that. Don't try it. Amir Khan.
How many tickets did AJ sell in his debut? I feel like he probably sold a ton as well.
I don't think he did.
AJ, gold medalist.
Yeah, I don't think he did. Yeah, I don't think he did in his first fight. No.
Wow. And by the way, shout out. I mean, he is headlining. Very rare to see a debutante headline, right?
Yeah.
Pat Brown, that is.
Remember, we kind of ridiculed this. Remember, we
I know. That's why I thought you were going to throw it. I know, exactly. I was like, oh, look at Matthew making a big deal out of this guy. And then he sells 2,000 tickets in his debut.
Yeah. Remember, I said something like they're unveiling him like he's Ali. Like, what is this?
At some point, Eddie Hearn is going to do like a hit piece video like Daniel likes to do about the media. And it's going to be your face and my face like, they didn't believe.
Yeah. It's going to be like what they did about Luka.
Yeah.
Remember what they did about Luka? When like, who's this European? Remember, and all of a sudden he's the best player in the NBA. You don't remember that?
No, I have no recollection.
Dude, did you watch Luka the other day?
Oh, he was fantastic. Yeah, he was smiling.
That was great,
he was
wasn't
having a great time. It was a great time, and this was a great time. Another fun show, as always. Next week, you'll be joining us from Riyadh, right?
I will, at 1 in the morning.
Yeah,
hey,
we like it. Get a little
dedication to the
Saudi Arabian tea, a little cafe, and you'll be good to go. Looking forward to that.
Indeed.
Safe travels out there. Good luck this weekend in Manchester. Looking forward to your coverage. Looking forward to that card as well. Another big weekend of boxing coming to DAZN. Don't go anywhere, but thank you once again for watching this program. We appreciate you all so very much. We'll talk to you next week. Enjoy the fights.